I've been a Rotarian since 1992, so I'm very many years in Rotary. I was the district governor in 2014, 2015. My name is Dr. Bimal Kantaria. I'm a manufacturer, so we make packaging manufacturing for farms, and we concentrate mainly on inputs to farms, so things like fertilizers and chemicals, irrigation equipment. My company, Carol, is 120 odd years old. It started in 1898 by my great-grandfather. So at the moment, the company is run by myself, my brother, and my sister. It's a family-run company. And we're all over East Africa and principally doing agro inputs into the agriculture sector. I got OGW 2 years ago, and last December I got EBS, which is the Elder Burning Spear. So EBS is the highest civilian order you can get. And there's a photo up there with President Ruto. So I joined Rotary in 1992. I graduated from my master's in the UK, and I came back to Kenya, and I had been away for 10 years, to be honest. I went when I was in secondary school, and I came back so many years later. So basically, I'd lost touch with all my friends. At that time, there was no social media, there wasn't a mobile phone, so you really couldn't get hold of your friends. When I came back, it was a lonely place. My uncle, Rustic Kantaria, who is in Rotary, was in Rotary Club in Nairobi South, introduced me to a man called Mr. Salim Manji, the House of Manji dynasty. And he brought me into the Rotary Club of Westlands. Rotary Club Westlands had just been chartered. So I was, the club had been a year old. I joined the Rotary Club of Westlands, but to be honest, I was still, 21, 22. I was very young to be a Rotarian by any standard. So the first couple of years, my first job they gave me was to start a Rotaract club, the Rotary Club of Westlands, which I formed a year later. And to be honest, I spent the first 4 or 5 years spending a lot of time with the Rotaractors. Whilst I was a Rotarian, I was spending, so much time in Rotaract, because I was then developing the Rotaract system. There weren't very many Rotaract clubs at that time. They were mainly university-based. So the Rotaract Club of Westlands was the first community-based Rotaract club. And after that, we started many community Rotaract clubs, and I think we formed, 10 odd clubs in that time. We really expanded Rotaract club in those initial days. So I strongly believe in the Rotaract club and the Interact club. We sometimes forget Interact clubs. My own club, which is Nairobi Industrial Area, last week we started a new Interact club as well. So there's still movement going on there, but I think it's and I spoke about it last week at the DTTS, and I said we still aren't emphasizing enough on Rotaract clubs and Interact clubs. If we don't take them young and educate them on what Rotary means and the culture of Rotary and what it stands for, even not necessarily what Rotary, the word means, but the culture of us giving back to society, giving back to the community, looking after one another, moral standards, ethics standards, which comes from Rotary. I think we need to target that in still a much more concerted way. I see growth in that sector. Maybe Rotary clubs are now reached, I think we're quite a large number now, and maybe difficult without us redistricting. It's just too difficult to manage so many clubs in one country. So I think the future of our district is of course Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact are key fundamentals, which I think we can spend much more time on it. Then a couple of years just before I became governor, 2010, 2019, 29 or 2010, I actually slowed down Rotary. Business commitments, family commitments were there, so I slowed down a little bit. And I think that was good in a way, because it just gave me a break. Emotionally, mentally, physically, you need some sort of time out. So I took a couple of years off. And then I felt ready that I'm now energized, I want to come back. And luckily at that time, our districts were being split. Uganda went its own way and Kenya went its own way. So there was a gap in leadership, meaning Kenya was not ready fully with leaders. So when I went for my interview as district governor, the first year, of course, Harry Mugo was my senior. So Harry Mugo became the first district governor of this new district. And I became the second district governor of our district. So I think that transition was also good, much more manageable in size. Our district was a lot smaller than Uganda and Tanzania being there. So for me personally, I think it was great that I did so much, and I took a couple of year break just to, re-energize myself, figure what I wanted to do. And then when I came back into Rotary, I had plenty of energy. Plus, I had lots more experience around other organizations to see what was good for Rotary, and then that's what I brought into the system. But we did some very new stuff. And so one of my friends said, he goes, Bimal, you're the only one who can get away with a lot more stuff because of your age. You can blame your youth in doing silly things. So it allowed me to experiment quite a lot. And I suspect that if it wasn't for the younger age group, if I was slightly elderly, I would have to follow the more traditional role. So I could do many funny things. So one of the things I did was I did a speed dating, a business speed dating, not man-woman, but a business speed dating, which was extremely successful. And I did it in Mombasa and Nairobi together. I did it. And what we did, we called professionals and businessmen to Grand Regency one Saturday morning. We had an outer ring of Rotarians and an inner ring, and it would give you 2 minutes to talk about each other's business, ring a bell, and then you switch seats. So in a course of a couple hours, we went around the room and we introduced each other, exchanged business cards and everything. And why that was, for me personally, that was incredible, satisfying, was that was on a Saturday. On Monday, I went to a lawyer's office, a Rotarian lawyer's office, and he was on the phone talking to another Rotarian. And I was listening. And they said, we met each other on Saturday. I'm really interested in you becoming my lawyer. They were talking. And then I said to myself, isn't that fantastic? Saturday they were having this speed dating. And on Monday the connections already happened, that they were doing business with one another. And I saw it firsthand myself. I thought, wow, that obviously it's working. Then we did, of course, we did a very big walk in Nairobi, which first time has ever happened. We actually walked for polio in the middle of Nairobi city. We stopped traffic on Uhuru Highway. At that time, it was the largest Rotarian walk, and I think we were meant to be in the Guinness Book of Records. They never acknowledged it, but we actually put our application to be the largest Rotary polio walk in the world at that time, with I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people walking through the streets of Nairobi shouting about Rotary and polio. We did the same walk in Kisumu and Mombasa at the same time. So some of these new things I could get away with, and made a big difference. The big couple of achievements was that we expanded our district by 52%. It's the largest growth ever in history of Africa. But I got the award, international award, for having the highest jump in Rotary clubs ever in that year by the RI president, Gary Wang. So I can't remember what it was. I think we chartered 32 new clubs at that time in 1 year. It was phenomenal. We had the highest growth in members. I think we had 600, 700 members at that time. And we raised the highest amount of money per capita in the world. I think we raised $1.2 million in foundation money. So for three things, we got really big international awards. And when the next RI president came to Nairobi, Ravi, he gave us a huge amount of accolades to us. And again, it was just our district. Once you unleash people's enthusiasm, you can't imagine what people can do. And on their own, they were just running and doing things, and they were happy, and it was excellent. I was obviously very proud to be a Rotarian that year. That's probably the best thing you can do as a governor, is you have the ability to visit, and you have to do it. You have to visit every single club. So, and it's the most exhausting, because usually the target is when you take over from 1st July, by December end, you should have completed all your visits. Because from January onwards, you're planning for the next governor to come in and your conference and all that. So you have a very hectic schedule, and people don't realize how exhausting it is. For that year, you've got to stop your business. You're just a permanent Rotarian. It's a lot of sacrifice. My family was upset with me. My young kids, they didn't complain at that time. But after I finished my district governorship, you see, they really miss Dad in the house, and they were struggling in school just because Dad was never around. It's really a big sacrifice, and sometimes we underestimate just how much time and effort goes into it. So I did all the clubs. I think I visited 100 clubs. And sometimes you have to do 2 clubs at a time, 3 clubs in a day. You start with morning, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Forget Nairobi. Nairobi is easy. Then you have to fly to Mombasa. Then you have to fly to South Sudan and Ethiopia and Addis. And it's really exhausting. But that's what the magic is. You really learn about people, and you learn about projects, and you learn the goods and the bads of Rotary. And if you don't do it, you miss out a lot. You miss out experiences. And Rotarians I've seen, they really want to meet the district governor. In Nairobi, because we're close to each other, it's less so. But you go to Mombasa or Kilifi or Embu, Meru, they just want to meet the district governor. They want to meet him. They want to shake his hand. They want to talk to him or her. And I think it makes such a difference when you're out there in the region, you spend time with them and you talk to them and you understand them personally. So the best thing that happened to me was very early on when I was announced as district governor elect. When I was district governor elect, 6 months before I took over the chair, what I did, I called all my incoming presidents, and we had a big bonding session in Nairobi, and I called everybody over. And at that time, WhatsApp had just started. So we started our presidents only WhatsApp group. And it was only me in the district, in the leadership, district secretary, district treasurer, country chair, Sali Gitoho, incredible person, and my presidents throughout the district. It was just this incredible tool where I didn't want to listen to anybody's noise. I didn't have any district officers. I didn't have any AGs on this group, just me and the presidents. And it just worked incredibly. The presidents just wanted to listen to the DG. I could communicate directly with them. They could listen to me. I could listen to them. And it was a free-for-all. I had no restrictions on that group. You could post a joke. You can say good morning to me. You can say whatever you want, no restrictions. Of course, the Jaipur foots are very important. You know, when you see a person putting a Jaipur foot on, it's just incredible when they start running. Sunshine Rally, it's just this incredible thing that we're now doing all over the district. Water projects, there's so many water projects. I went to Naivasha to start a water borehole. We have a hospital in Naivasha we started. There's so many, Mombasa, incredible bunch of Rotarians in Mombasa. How many projects they do per club? It's mind-blowing how much stuff Rotary contributes. So all of these projects, our Don Bosco project still going strong. All these kind of projects are still, they're running really well. Addis is incredible. The one that's the most interesting one is in Juba in South Sudan. I mean, the clubs there in very, very harsh conditions, they managed to do projects. It's phenomenal what the Rotary Club of Juba does. In probably the hardest times, we don't understand how difficult it is out there, but they're doing it. All of these clubs are strong clubs in our district. So I think all of these things are excellent. I think really, lifelong changing things. I think. You don't realize just how big Rotary International is. So I went to, as I said, to Nepal as a RI rep. Then I served on the Water and Sanitation Board. I sat on Rotary Action Group. There's a couple of action groups I sat on the board. I sat one for endangered species, and I did that for several years. So I did some interesting stuff out there. But it's a whole world out there. You can't imagine, Karen, how big Rotary is and the networks you start building out there. It's all paid for by RI. RI has this incredible budget, so there's no financial loss to you. Even as a district governor, RI covers all your expenses, so there's no financial burden on you at that level. But when you're at RI level, it's even bigger. They pay for your flights, hotels. You travel a lot. You see new countries, meet incredible people. So I think once you finish district governorship, and if you still have energy, because it's quite hard work, there's this whole thing out there. And nowadays, it's even more democratic. So all the RI committees and boards they actually write to you and say, do you want to join any of these boards? Previously, a lot used to be just, recommended, or they tell you you're going to sit on these boards. But now it's much more democratic. You can volunteer to sit on some of these committees. So a lot of our Kenyan international past district governors sit on some of these big boards. Of course, we have PDG Gita Manik, who's a trustee of foundation, and you can just see what an incredible leader she is, and and the wonderful exposure she's getting. So out there, it's big and exciting, and you can just live your whole life in Rotary, because once you're a worker and a philanthropist, then other things open for you. So as you know, Rotary started in South Africa, in Africa. So the big boys in Africa were always traditionally Nigeria, Uganda, and South Africa. South Africa was, so what has happened over the last 20, 30 years is Rotary is spread all over Africa. So there's lots of hubs now. Kenya has become a major hub now. You can see our Rotary Foundation even has a full-time staff member in Nairobi now. Rotary in Kenya has become important. So we're a big player now in the system. South Africa has slowed down a little bit. Again, they didn't transit as well as we did from becoming more of an indigenous club organization as we have done. They didn't have enough local South Africans to take over Rotary, and I think there's a slight gap there, which I think we did really well. Nigeria is just again massive, doing extremely well, growing. I think they've got a couple of districts in there now, so it's become much more balanced. I see much more room for us to play. Of course, we have RI presidents from Africa, but I think we still need more. We still need more voices out there at leadership level from Africa, more African directors, more at foundation level. But unfortunately, some of these things are based on numerical numbers, how many Rotarians in Africa compared to how many Rotarians in India or America. So I think that will still be a challenge for us. The numbers, we still haven't got it right. Of course, there's a big transition from Rotary being just an American organization. I think in the next 20 years, it'll be less Americans and more rest of the world. India is massive now. So there's a slight rebalancing of Rotarians happening in the world. And Africa needs to play its part. Unfortunately, Africa doesn't have the numbers, to be honest, in terms of physical Rotarians. And our giving is much less than other per capita giving is much less. If we get those two right, then I think we have a seat on the table, on the high table in the world. So, of course, my dream and ambition is to have a Rotary conference, a world conference in Africa somewhere eventually. That'd be cool. We were trying it for many years in Kenya. We couldn't make it. South Africa gave it a shot once. But I think that would be a really good one. To have a convention in Africa would really, for me, solidify Africa's position in Rotary. So I think we're in the right direction, to be honest. I think we have got the demographics right now. I mentioned to a lot more Rotarians are younger now. So that will carry on, that trend will carry on. Of course, more women now. I suspect in our district, we probably have more women in leadership than there are men. Again, excellent. It's something that we dreamt of years ago. But I think a balance would be good. Age is important. I think this cultural differences, I'm very conscious that we stick to this diversity, that we must bring in other communities into the space. Asians, Europeans have to be part of Rotary. I see that may be a challenge going forward. So some of these things that having a convention in Africa, Kenya being maybe 2 or 3 districts, I think that's not a bad idea. I think having the political leadership much more closely aligned to the district leadership is a good idea. In these countries, we need political patronage sometimes just to give us endorsements. I think that's important. And I think we're quite strong. We were very strong in the last 2 presidents. This president, as you know, is also, his wife is quite committed to Rotary. So I think we have all the right ingredients. It's just we just have to keep the balance, keep growing, getting stronger. I think that we're doing well, I think. The 4-way test in Kenya is, we still need to keep drilling it into our Rotarians. Some, as you know, some Rotarians and some clubs have done errant things. We know the history of our situation with the foundation at the moment. So I think more and more, the district leadership needs to talk about that much more openly. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? All these kind of things are very important. And I think we don't talk about it enough. And that's why you see some new Rotarians getting confused, on foundation issues and things like that. So I think we have a challenge there. And I think we have to be much more selective. We've got the numbers now, so we don't have to worry about the numbers and Rotarians anymore. I think we have a good mix. The initial burst of growth is there. We don't need to do it anymore. Now we have to be a little bit more selective on who becomes a Rotarian, because if we don't get it right, we could lose ethos of the 4-way test in our district. And if we lose it, then what is Rotary? For a very long time, Kenya was always overshadowed by Uganda, to be honest. We always felt These are the big brothers of Rotary. So lots of district governors came from their side simply because of their population and their majorities. Very few district governors came from our side. I think every 2 or 3 district governors came from that side and 1 came from our side. So I think the district was ready for this move on. Kenya felt very confident that if we're left on our own, we perhaps move faster, which is exactly what happened. Once we became our own, we sort of developed our own leadership. We had capacity building, a lot of training going on our own capacity building. It gave our opportunity to our leaders to then shine, which maybe perhaps they wouldn't be able to previously. And Uganda was also ready to move. They were growing at a rapid pace. They were ready for 2 districts, which I think is in the process as well. So in Tanzania, again, what said, we want to work with. They were quite neutral about which country they wanted to join, but it just made sense for us to South Sudan and Kenya all to join up, and Tanzania and Uganda to go their own way. So then that was reasonably amicably done, and the leadership was in tune. The Kenyan, of course, redistricting is a different matter, simply because we're one country, and we all love each other. We all understand from Mombasa to Kisumu who we all are. I think that would be a bigger transition, to be honest, and I don't know how that will work out. But that's work in progress. The committees have been set up. I think it has to happen simply because our district is too big now. Kenya is too big now. It needs a little bit of for district governors, a little bit of a split, so 2 districts can manage so many clubs. So I think it's a natural progression, and I think it's massive credit to our district that this has even been discussed. My whole life has been, part of a Rotary family. All my friends are Rotarians. I do business with. If I can find a Rotarian to do business with, I prefer to do it with a Rotarian. My wife is a past president of the Rotary Club of Peponi. We're all in it. My children can tell you the 4-way test. They talk about Rotary a lot. They want to be interactors and Rotaractors. So it's ingrained in our system of culture in my family. So for me, it's probably the most important organization I belong to. I always wear my pin wherever I go. Some people think I'm fanatic about it, but I truly believe in Rotary.